Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, January 5th, 2025, and this is the Weekend Roundup. What's going on, everybody? What is happening? We are finally back at you all live and direct. This is the Weekend Roundup brought to you by Just Bleed Radio. I, of course, am LazyBed. Joining me, as usual, I've got my co-host alongside. We got no special. We got DangerMouse. Also along for the ride today is Dave. He may pop in for a bit of a point or two, possibly. This is a somewhat impromptu episode of the Roundup. This is not going to be your usual, typical dose of what you get from us around here, but we wanted to put some content out for you guys. So we're going to do a little something here, just a couple of topics to get into. Yeah, so that's just about it. That's going to be the introduction for this here episode. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, pretty good. We can't talk about much MMA because there hasn't been any, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's news out there.
I feel like there has been stuff, right? There's been stuff out in the ether of this
yeah,
news and whatnot. But I'm doing good. I mean, how about yourself? It's been a minute.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Way before Christmas, wasn't it? Before we last recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. It's actually a whole new year. It's been an entire year since I spoke to you guys.
That is true. Yeah.
For sure. It felt like fucking 5.
I think I said it before. I'm not sure if I said it before Austin got here. There's been such a lack of MMA that I've even turned to gaming. I've had Total War Medieval up and running. For the first time in a year, by coincidence, I literally looked and I was like, when did I last play this? November, I think it was last year.
Okay.
Previous year, should I say.
Nearly coinciding perfectly with the UFC break of last year.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
I've been knuckles deep into Space Marine. Killing Xenos for the Emperor and whatnot. It's been fun.
Like everybody turns to video games over the break.
Yeah, I gotta get my bloodlust in somehow.
Yeah. English longbow is my way. That's how I get my bloodlust. You know.
Super Dave, you with us? What have you been doing over this break?
I've been cutting shit and with the new chainsaw and learning how to box. So not only can I help you bury a body.
Walking Chatri lots, I hope.
Yeah. Lots and lots.
Taking him out to see his friends, the Coyotes.
Yeah. We took him into the city the other day too, and that went over really well. So
Cool.
He's a good boy.
Oh, and congratulations to everybody listening. We all won Donk of the Year.
We did, yes.
Woo!
I still think it's fucking hilarious. It'll be like, he's come back. Fucking went anywhere. I was considering sending a meme in and saying that we'd send a team in to take the Donk of the Year this year. Yeah. Me, Lazy, Dave, Dasricchio.
Yeah.
Four-man team. Donk of the Year.
You gotta give it to the JBR friends and family, like as a crew. Like I think we kept the fucking ship running, man. We were consistently in there. Us and the main card minute crew. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for live chats and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, I ended up as a Discord owner. I didn't have to, but whatever. I'm still there. We'll maybe a change going in, but we'll see.
But was it now where it said they'd put our link up in the MK Reddit?
Oh, someone's Reddit mod.
Yeah, somebody's a Reddit mod. Yeah,
34. The I forget what the number of his thing, but
March of 34.
There it is. Thank you.
March of 34. I remember that guy.
Oh, is it?
That dude's chill. I like him.
Yeah, well, thank you to him because we definitely had a few subs since that went up.
Oh yeah, shout out to the MK Reddit and
Yeah.
Most people.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's more active.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Compared to Discord.
Not necessarily.
Hey.
They don't necessarily like it when you're too active. I got told off for posting too much in there. And I'm not.
Yeah, the Reddit is
Reddit?
much different. The Reddit is different from the Discord for sure.
I was spamming
But
spamming memes like crazy, and they just went, "Oh, fuck off! Stop posting stuff." Oh, Jesus, I thought you might like something to see every day when you logged in. Oh well, never mind.
Well,
you're doing too much. You're doing too much. God.
Well, before we rattle on too much more, guys, let's get into some actual topics here so that the bleeders stay tuned in. Okay, I just got two simple topics for today for this short impromptu show, and we're going to start with this one here. These are both rumors, more or less, but I'm hearing a lot of traction on both these topics around the MMA world. So let's begin with this here. Lots of MMA journalists and reporters are speculating that Dana White will take a large step back from his public role for the UFC in 2025, either to focus on other endeavors, pun intended, or to begin putting forward his inevitable successor. This has been speculated for a long time. I've heard this come out of the mouths of several people. Jed Meshew has mentioned this, Big John McCarthy, a couple of other people. Daz was talking about it today on the MMA fighting chat. So this has been kicked around. This has been an idea that's been talked about for a while. It seems sort of like Dana's maybe taken a gradual step back from some of his duties, at least publicly. Do you guys think it's possible that in 2025 we see a reduction in how much Dana is visible for the UFC and their product?
Oh, that's the first I've heard of it, to be honest. The only thing
Go ahead.
I was going to say the only thing I've heard from Big John is his apology for not recognizing that Dakota Ditchever was as great as, or is as great as she is last year. Yeah, thank you for the apology, Big John. Yeah, I guess Dana could take a step back. It's been clear, I think, that he's not necessarily as fired up about MMA as he has been, with all these attention on slap, and now there's talk of a boxing promotion and all the rest of it. Maybe he could step back. If he does, I think it looks, well, the odds I would guess are on Hunter stepping up and taking over his place. Seems like an okay guy, I guess. But yeah, I really haven't heard anything about it, so I haven't thought about it for very long. Yeah, I could see it happening. I mean, why wouldn't he? I mean, let's be honest here. The guy is close on a billionaire. If he isn't a billionaire yet, he never needs to earn a cent for the rest of his life. If he wants to step back and do something else, let him. But he has been great for the UFC. I never got around to actually finish it, but Dana's on my Mount Rushmore of UFC. So yeah, if he chooses to, all credit to him. Go back away, spend your money, let someone else who might be a bit more enthusiastic and focused on getting fights. But of course, the alternative also is that we get a more corporate replacement. Someone like the guy who's in charge of which one was it? Was it One or is it even PFL that says he doesn't watch fights? No,
Yeah,
Don Davis.
Don Davis. Thank you. Yeah, I'd much rather have Dana White than the Dana White tide than someone like Don Davis who doesn't care about the fights. So yeah, 6 and 1, half a dozen of the other, I suppose.
Yeah. You basically hit the nail on the head there for the reason behind the speculation. The idea is that, more or less Dana has been making it apparent in one way or another, whether he means to or not, that he has been kind of spreading himself out across various different ventures that they're undertaking over there at Zuffa Endeavor, whatever you want to call it now. So it's not necessarily that he's going to be less hands-on behind the scenes, but maybe that he's going to be less visible at press conferences and cage side at various events, and just a diminished role from that, and somebody like a Hunter Campbell probably stepping up and taking over that spot so that he can focus his energies into all of these other avenues that they have their fucking fingers in. So Austin, what do you think? Do you think that it's possible we see less of Dana this year?
When Vince McMahon was nearly ousted for questionable conduct before all of the actual lawsuits and scandals and testimony were available, he still held on to pretty much total control from the outside. I mean, hell, he basically stole the ability for the company to get rid of him, and then still sold majority of the company to Endeavor, right? He never relented control, and matter of fact, still holds a lot of pull, even though he is pretty much on the outs of public eye for the WWE. Dana will always be the same. You can fucking flush him down a goddamn drain, and he'll come back like a goddamn cockroach. That's what he is. He's a survivor. He's a fighter. He's one of those dudes that doesn't matter what you do or what he does to himself. He could slap his wife in public, and the fans will defend him. He will say Francis Ngannou is a terrible human being, despite all the shit that says otherwise. Right? Look at what I'm doing with one hand and not what I'm doing with the other. Right? He's that guy. He'll tell you how great slap is and how there's absolutely nothing that is wrong with slap whatsoever, even though the public has deemed it the opposite. Right? Dana is who I feel we no longer need for the promotion. And I'm not saying we need a Don Davis, but I'm simply saying a man who has more grudges that hinder the ability for fights to happen is not good for a fight promotion. The promotion doesn't need him. The fans need fights. If you need a front-facing face that's more friendly to the fighters and to the fans, hell yeah. Hunter Campbell's that dude. I don't care who runs it from here on out, as long as they're not hindering the ability for fights to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Dana was more responsible for fights not happening than actually happening.
Well,
We don't need to make that fight. We don't need to make that fight. We don't need to actually do this. We don't need to do that. How many times have we heard that?
mhm.
Oh, he doesn't want to fight.
Yeah.
How many times have we heard that?
Yeah, but I'm also hearing him saying, yes, that's a fight to happen. I'll pay John $30 million if that's what it's going to take. Fight Thomas Finel. So
beforehand, when he was like in his prime at light heavyweight, he said, "Oh, he wants Deontay Wilder money." He has been known to do that. I am just saying,
I know.
he is only able to do that now from what? Not being able to care as much. I'm just, it's interesting. It's interesting. I look. The truth is that
I think he
could go. He could go.
Just let me jump in here, Austin.
He could go.
Just let me jump in here. I think he's talked himself into a corner because he's been upping John Jones as the GOAT for all this time. So either he's been setting John Jones up for a fall as the ultimate fuck you at the end of his career, because we know for a fact that John Jones is not easy to deal with. Dana said that before.
No.
He's awkward to deal with. So maybe he's just setting him up for a fall. Like, it's $30 million. It's not my money. It's Endeavor's money, or whoever runs the damn thing now. Yeah, I'll set this up. This will be a laugh. I'll get to see John Jones knock down a peg at the end of his career. He'll still be the GOAT. He probably knows he'll still be the GOAT, but...
Well, this ain't Campbell's Rambles, so let's get back on topic here. Austin.
I did warn you. You want to drink him out, you fucking guy.
Austin, do we see less of Dana White in 2025? Yes or no?
No, we see the same amount, I'd say.
Can hear you there. Now, what I do want to point out is that if anyone watched the Roku channel special on the UFC, Inside the UFC, or whatever it was called a couple of months ago, their little documentary they put out, you'll know that Hunter Campbell, obviously for some time now, has been a bit more of the guy with the traditional Dana White role that we thought of him holding for so long in the UFC. He is the guy negotiating a lot of these fights. He's the guy sitting down with the fighters and talking things out with them and telling them, what they need to do for the company. And people have seen maybe you guys have or haven't, but a lot of people have seen the clip of him sitting down and talking to Aljo before the O'Malley fight. And so he's the guy doing a lot of the legwork that Dana was once doing as far as the actual fighter relations and putting these fights together. So I think that's kind of why a lot of people feel like he is the obvious shoo-in to take over the Dana role should Dana step back at all. That and his prowess in law and finance, it kind of gives him the ability to speak on some of the things that maybe a Daniel Cormier or somebody who would be a bit more charismatic in that role wouldn't necessarily be able to handle. Anyways, Dave, what do you think? Do you think that Dana is going to kind of fall more into the backseat so that he could focus on some of these things like the Zuffa boxing and power slap or whatever it might be in his relationship with Turkey? Or do you think that things are going to remain business as usual and it's, Dana White down our throats all 2025?
A little of both. I think Dana might fall back a smidge from being like he's already kind of stepped away from being at so many press conferences and stuff, and I think he might miss out on some more of those. But I don't think. I think Hunter Campbell also is probably the dude that's being groomed to replace him, but I don't think it's that time yet. I just think he might miss a few more fight nights and stuff like that, but he's still going to be kind of the face of the promotion on that end, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of in agreement with basically everything you guys have said. Like, I do feel like we could see a slightly diminished presence from him, like we already have. Like, so we could see that increase some, but I think for the most part, he is going to stick around, at least for this year, with all that they have going on with the TV rights deals and the broadcasting rights. Where are they going to wind up? And then, of course, his buddy, Big Donald Trump, back in office, and he's going to want to show up at a lot of these events. So Dana's going to want to be cage side with his buddies. So I think we'll still see him, but I do think that this is a very clear, like, I'm kind of slowing my roll a little bit, and we're shifting gears.
Yeah, I think we'll have to see how much he steps back from non-numbered events. Anything that's obviously a pay-per-view, Dana's going to be there, barring exceptional circumstances. But yeah, we know we're not going to see as much of the Apex this year, if anything. So we'll see how much he appears on the road.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because I think with Hunter Campbell at the helm, like I said it a couple of different places, I think it'll be a lot more of like and this will be totally foreign to DangerMouse, but like Roger Goodell as the commissioner of the NFL, you're going to get a lot more politically correct, safe statements that aren't going to get them in hot water, that aren't going to scare away sponsors or potential investors. I think that'll be kind of a double-edged sword, because it's going to be a bit more bland. But then I think you could also see the UFC grow in some ways that maybe you wouldn't necessarily see with Dana, because he can be a polarizing figure in a lot of ways. So it'll be interesting. Okay, well, let's wrap this up. Let's move it along to the second and final topic of the day here today for this abbreviated weekend roundup. And it is going to be in regards to our favorite, everybody's favorite organization, the PFL. Dakota Ditcheva trade talks seem to have fizzled a little bit at the moment, at least in the rumor mill. A lot of people are still talking about her making the jump to the UFC, but she's kind of talking about some loyalty to the PFL brand. So we'll see how that pans out with her. However, new talks abound surrounding the future of the PFL season tournament format. It's another story that's being reported and speculated on by various outlets. 2025 will likely see the end of the yearly season-style presentation the PFL has used since its inception, and a move to more standardized MMA cards, while still hosting the occasional Grand Prix tournament. This could be an interesting series of events for the PFL. It could mean changes in their broadcast presentation, of course, their pacing, all different types of things, and of course, the matchmaking itself and what this means for the fighters. So I guess my question to you guys is, are you for or against this change and this move to get away from the season-style presentation and format in the PFL and move towards a more traditional MMA model?
Everyone kind of seems to think this is going to be the year that's going to pretty much either break them but not make them, right? If they get away from the tournament style, that's got to be step into survival tactics, right? I mean, I personally love the tournament style, but the season format seems to be more like how Bellator used to do it, where back in the day, Bellator would have their guys fight 4 times in a year in a tournament, and it was almost like month to month that they would fight. It's crazy pacing. And this is still a shorter time of that frame, or an exaggerated time of that frame. But if no one's watching the tournament, is it helping them, right? Like that. I mean, more people were there for Dakota because she is a star for them, right? She became a must-see attraction for them, and for good reason. She's good at what she does. She's easy to talk to in an interview. She's very personable. She's got an outgoing personality. She's an action fighter, as we can see. The problem is that when you have other names that people aren't as invested in, does a tournament help them? For me, that's what I like to see. But for the PFL, if they are to survive, maybe doing less of that and then just using the Bellator talent that they acquired that have been rebelling as of late. You got to throw them fights. You have no choice. Like, you thought you had problems before, you're going to have more problems this year. And the tournament style is not going to help that either. So, unfortunately, it's a means to an end, I think. And hopefully it means that they are capable of switching things up. Because if they're not, this is not going to be the year that they're going to, this is not going to be their year if they can't adapt. So, yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction for survivability.
Yeah. Mouse, you are our resident Dakota Ditchva number one fan, the president of her fan club.
That is true.
Yeah. And this is a far-fetched theory, but she has been kind of adamant herself that she really doesn't want to take part in another PFL tournament.
Mm-hmm.
We know that she is their number one shooting star. She's just fucking blazing across the sky out there. Is there any chance, that maybe this sudden or not so sudden talk of them changing the tournament format, the season format, has something to do with her not wanting to take part in it any longer?
I hadn't considered that. I suppose it's possible. I know Dakota said she didn't really want to do a tournament again, but funnily enough, I did watch an interview with her today from, I don't know, a few days ago, a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, with Sky. And she was saying on there that she was definitely tied to the PFL for next year. And she said potentially longer at the time. But it didn't really explain anything. But from what I took from that, I got the idea if she fought another tournament, then she might be tied to them for longer. I'm wondering if they have the same kind of sunset clause that if you win the tournament, you have to fight the next year in the tournament or something like that, or you don't get to walk away from the PFL if you don't. Yeah, I mean, the PFL has 2 stars at the moment. They have Francis, who obviously there's all the publicity behind him being the linear heavyweight champion from the UFC. And then there's Dakota, who, as Austin said, is the brightest thing on the market at the moment. I have been steadily taking my time on this and clipping bits and pieces for a video about Dakota. But a couple of things did come up. If you look at her record, she's 14-0 at the moment. The 2 other people who were 14-0 that popped to mind are Ilya Taporia and Hamzat Chimaev. So just something to think on there. That's that. I'm not even joking. Check your records. So for the PFL, I think she's hugely important. They need to give her something next year. She wants to fight in Manchester. They have to figure out some way of giving her a fight in Manchester.
Yeah.
What else for the PFL? The tournament thing. I'm kind of like Austin. I've enjoyed it a little bit, but my enjoyment has been freely about Dakota. I haven't really cared very much about the other fighters in those tournaments. I enjoyed the big PFL event they did with all the fighters, all the champion or potential champions fighting each other, even if it went on a bit too long. I guess I could see a future where they just did 1 or 2 tournaments a year in all the weight divisions, whatever it was, and then went back to a more traditional format for the rest of the weight classes. Yeah, that's what I want for Dakota this year. At the very least, I want to just go back, not fight a tournament, get 2 or 3 good fights in, and then have the option to skip town and jump over to the UFC in enough time to defeat Shevchenko, ideally. So hopefully I've vaguely answered your questions there, Lazy.
Oh, you did. You definitely did. I guess then that leaves me with Dave here. Is it possible, Dave, that if they do switch from this season format to a more traditional format, and like I said, they do plan on, I guess the rumor is still, continuing to hold the occasional Grand Prix tournament, much like Bellator did. Do you think that them moving away from the season format actually kind of frees up their ability to book and schedule these fighters that deserve and need fights more often and more freely?
To be honest, I'm not sure. It certainly would free up their ability to book the fighters on the roster that they aren't given fights to currently, like all the Bellator fighters that aren't really happy with them. I think a lot of those fighters also weren't really interested in fighting in a season type format.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as those fighters are concerned, it surely would. And, maybe it would I'm sure it wouldn't hurt across the board. It just, matchmaking might not be the easiest on the lower end of their spectrum because a lot of these fighters are just no names. I feel like they put in the tournaments just to get some names in there. But yeah, actually, it probably would make it easier to matchmake across the board and get fighters more fights. And, we'd have the elbows all the time, so that would be a plus. And
Yeah.
maybe some more big names in the cards or bigger names than what they have. Get some more eyes.
Yeah. So I take it you're for the change away from a season format, then you would prefer that.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the tournament format, but I realize that it's not working. And so I'd be in favor of change just to help save the promotion.
Yeah.
Was that a perfectly timed moan from Chatri there?
Yeah.
The end of the tournament season and Chatri moan.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see too, like if they do this, it'll be interesting to see what it means for the other tournaments that they host across the world now too. The European tournament, the PFL MENA tournament, these different small ones that they've just started up. Like, will those continue on and still be feeders into the main? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, sorry, that is a really, really good point because Dakota has just proved that that's the way to go. Now she's blasted through the European League, then jumped onto the world stage as it was, and she's become a big star. But the bad news for the PFL is she's not going to remain a big star for the PFL. She's going to run away to the UFC at some point in the future, and we all know we're all waiting for it.
It's almost like do you quit doing those the European tournament and stuff like that now while you're going out on a high note because you're probably not gonna. Your next winner is not likely to be another Dakota Ditcheva. So
no, very unlikely.
You kind of you found your white whale here.
Yeah, it's almost like there's too much clutter at this point. Centralize the league to whatever fighters you have. You have fighters already, most of which are capable of fighting. The problem is that there's a handful that are not wanting to fight, that are primarily champions or big name fighters from Bellator that are already looking for an exit, and you got to give those people fights, or you got to let them go. Right now, they're kind of in that between stage of like, okay, well, let's see what we can do. Like they've said, matchmaking is probably the best bet for those guys to fight.
Yeah.
The question is, how much does it cost for a season? I guess I know they give $1 million away at the end, but I don't think the fighters how much did Talia Santos make for turning up for that final? Not very much, if anything at all. I don't believe.
Yeah, so, and from everything that I've heard from our guy John S. Nash, who is the man in the know with contracts and stuff like that, that $1 million isn't a lump sum payment that they give these fighters. That is spread out across the tournament.
All right, is it really? It's funny. Again,
it's the final. It's the final, is what it is. Is that no? It's the final.
It's
the final. It's the final. So they get paid X amount to fight per regular, like the 2 fights at the beginning and the 2 seasonal fights, and then there's the final where you get X for whatever your contract is, and then you get the remaining sum paid out almost to equal out $1 million. So you get Like Anthony Pettis was making $750,000 when he was fighting in the tournament, each fight, and then he makes it to the final and still the semifinals and still loses. So, like, you start getting paid X amount per fight. It's the final that you would get the additional million or the additional to make $1 million.
I know. The interview I heard that I was listening to today, the interviewer asked Dakota if she got the $1 million in the bank yet, and Dakota said, "No, I don't get the $1 million in the bank until my drug tests come back." So make of that what you will. But she never said there was less.
It's not like we have to worry about. It's not like we have to worry about her, right?
I would certainly hope not. I don't think so.
Hey, if Kayla Harrison could win the tournaments and have her drug test come back clean, then I think Dakota's in the clear.
I generally don't think she's the kind of girl to cheat. She's been doing this for her entire life, and her mother has, taught her.
That's a clean athlete, baby. Clean athlete.
I like to believe so, yeah. I genuinely think so, to be honest. She doesn't strike me as that kind of girl. She's too family orientated.
Go figure, we fucking end another episode on Dakota Ditch.
I do my best every week.
What are the odds? What are the odds?
Hey, she's dangerous. How can I not like her?
All right, well, I think that's as good a note as any to end this here short, abbreviated weekend roundup on. We do appreciate all you guys tuning in, as always. Everybody in the premiere chat that's probably watching and chatting along right now. Thank you guys for showing up. We're happy to have you all here. We're glad to be kicking off another year at Just Bleed Radio, coming at you strong, hot, and heavy all year long. We're going to be bringing the content. So from me and all the boys here, we thank you once again. Please hit the like and subscribe on your way out if you haven't already, and we will catch you guys right back here next week for another weekend roundup. Say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Happy New Year. Belated one at
that. Yes, Happy New Year and former holidays and whatnot.
All right.
We wrapped. I need to go and refresh my drink for the next draft.
Go for it.
One old fashioned coming up. Shout out Uber.
There it is.
Somewhere in this building, there's a little mouse hiding. I was like, oh man, I wish I had that recorded. That'd be a perfect clip for the fucking show. There's a little mouse hiding.
Drunk mouse is a fun mouse.
Flat like my ass.